Hello, dear friends. We continue our series about the illegal seizure of power in the Russian Federation. The methods of retaining power by the Putin regime are so primitive that the majority of ordinary citizens of our country can already see the low intellectual level of the entire system of public administration that has been established in the Russian Federation in the last 20 years. Mafia, oligarchy, syndicate. We have such concepts. The kid said, the kid did. Mafia. Film 17. Cynically perverting the democratic procedures prescribed in the first articles of the constitutions, United Russia Putinism has completely degraded the country's electoral system in 20 years. And that's why most of the citizens of our country, and this is shown by a real turn at elections of any level, are not going to take any part in this fake electoral obscurantism. In these 2 episodes of the film, I will try to destroy the last stronghold of Putinism in its legitimacy and election by law. The fact is that even critics of Putin's election for the 4th time as president agreeing that there were serious falsifications at a huge mass of polling stations, but still Putin managed to gain 51% of the votes, which automatically cancelled the holding of the second round of presidential elections. And indeed, there are such municipal districts and even entire regions where the result of citizen Putin exceeds 90%. And if we take away from these 90% of the average numbers of the attributions in 30–40% that I identified in the 14 regions of the Volga Federal District studied, then Putin really still has a lot of votes. Using the example of 28 election commissions of the Chelno-Vershinsky municipal district, which is the only one of the 37 municipalities of the Samara region, Putin drew a result of 92% on the 18th of March 2018. All other municipal districts stopped at the result of 76%. Now you will see how such crazy results are obtained. The rural settlement of Krasny Stroitel, 2 polling stations 3303 and 3304. There are mass carousels and illegal ballot stuffing at both polling stations from morning to evening. In total, 36 falsifiers have been found here who repeatedly vote at these polling stations. Moreover, many of the falsifiers dump several sets of illegal ballot papers into the urn. 2 young women in the last hour of voting pour 20 illegal ballot papers into the ballot box each. And all this Putin pamphlet of obscurantism is controlled by a policeman who was planted specifically near the urn, in order to then show it all on central television and convince the citizens of our country with lies that stuffing of 50% of illegal ballot papers is impossible. You can see for yourself that a policeman and a public observer are sitting next to the urn at all polling stations. In Putin's system of public administration built on lies and deception, especially in the electoral system, those representatives of the state who should monitor the honesty and fairness of democratic procedures are the most important criminal fraudsters. All members of the PAC and all public observers wanted to spit on this constitution, electoral legislation, the anthem, the flag of our country. They repeatedly vote at different polling stations, pouring hundreds of illegal ballot papers into the ballot boxes. Krasnoyarskaya rural settlement, 2 polling stations, 3308 and 09. All members of the PACs and all public observers pour hundreds of illegal ballot papers into the ballot boxes. In total, I have discovered 42 forgers here. And the main stuffing of illegal ballot papers occurs in the last 2 hours of voting. At these polling stations, the results of the vote are completely distorted. In the criminal Putin Pamphilov electoral system of tip-top, how could it be otherwise? If the chairman of the PAC 4308 only at this polling station votes 6 times, and the chairman of PAC 4309, who is obliged to monitor compliance with the constitution and the electoral legislation, votes 3 times. This is a real Putin-United Russia organized criminal group, organized by the authorities, aimed at seizing power in the country. These criminals vote 8-10 times at more than one polling station. Like everywhere else, they carry out this Putin's frenzy at several polling stations. And the main stuffing of illegal ballot papers, I repeat, takes place in the last hour of voting. Rural settlement Kamenny Brod, 3 polling stations. The Putin Pamphilov criminal locusts have seen the constitution and electoral legislation of the country in a safe. Everything the same as other polling stations in the Samara region. Mass stuffing of illegal ballot papers, carousels, postings. Having studied the video materials from 1,400 polling stations of the Samara region, I come to the stable opinion that the Putinists are not able to understand why the state symbols of the country exist. What is democracy, truth, justice, conscience? In my films, I bring irrefutable proofs that on election day the United Russia Putinists are nothing but criminal cattle, and realizing the organization and mass nature of crimes, you begin to understand that this criminal cattle in all levels of the state hierarchy of Russia. 31 falsifiers were identified at 3 polling stations of the Kamenny Brod rural settlement. And the main stuffing of illegal ballot papers occurs in the last hour of voting. The rural settlement of Stare Eshtabenkino, 3 polling stations, nothing new. The entire Putin Pamphilov electoral system is permitted through and through with terror criminality. I won't get tired of repeating. For 20 years, concepts such as Putinism and criminal degradation of public administration have become twin brothers. At 3 polling stations of this rural settlement, 19 falsifiers were found running around different polling stations and throwing stacks of illegal ballot papers into the ballot boxes. And the most active participants in this abomination are members of the PEX and public observers. The rural settlement of Novaya Delyakevo, 2 polling stations, number 43, 15 and 24. We are not observing anything new. Criminality, it's all the same. After watching 17 episodes of the film, we can say for sure that Putinism purposefully selects the most criminal abomination from Russian society and places these evil spirits in leadership positions, heads of settlements, of municipal districts, including members of election commissions and public observers. At the polling station 43-24, a man and a woman vote simultaneously. The first time at 10:30 and the second time after 8 hours at 18:30. Until 2017, repeatedly dropping illegal ballot papers into the trash was not a criminal offense. But the fact that each of these falsifiers signs in the BP's issue log, forging the signature of a voter who didn't come to vote, already is a criminal case. And the fact that dozens of falsifiers throw hundreds of illegal ballot papers into the ballot boxes is not important for us in this case. What is important for us is the indisputable appearance of the Commission by falsifiers of a concrete criminal offense, the falsification of voters' signature in the voter list. But in response to the numerous applications I submitted to the investigative committee for bringing to criminal responsibility for forging signatures of voters in the voter register, and I have such indisputable video recordings of the crime for almost 1,000 forgers, not a single criminal case was initiated. Putin's investigative committee and the prosecutor's office do not see any forged signatures for voters who didn't come to vote. And you citizens of our country watching this film also do not see anything. You are disenfranchised slaves for Putin and the Putinists. Just try to say something that you are now witnessing a massive criminal fraud. You were told that it is the most honest election. Many have already said that these were the most transparent, cleanest elections in the history of our country. Thank God we have a democratic country and the source of power is people. That's why people choose power. And in this sense, they are not only customers, but they are also owners. And they have the right to set their requirements based on this. Try, you owners, as Kiriyenko says, to go out on the streets and ask your requirements. Having said that, 1,400 polling stations in the Samara regions, 2,200 forgers were identified. Moreover, for 1,000 falsifiers you have indisputable evidence that when they received the BPs, they signed in the voter logs forging the signature of voters who didn't come to vote. And that with such a huge number of criminal perversions in the electoral system of Putin's Russia, it makes no sense to count who threw in how much or attributed illegal ballot papers. There is no point in discussing whether the second round of elections is needed or not. In a normal, democratic country, having discovered such massively organized falsifications, any elections or referendums on the annexations of the territories are recognized as illegitimate. Go out and try to defend the constitution, electoral legislation, and in general to assert your rights that you are not slaves and have not degraded to a state of Putinism. I don't see anything, I don't understand anything, and I don't realize anything. The rural settlements of Sidelkino, one polling station. Well, what can you say at the polling stations of the Chelnovershinsky municipal district? If 82% were drawn here at the elections of deputies of the State Duma of United Russia, 92% were drawn to Putin a year later, and 98% were drawn to the governor 6 months later. My task is to show by concrete examples that the dumbest citizen of our country understood that in order to identify mass criminal crimes, after seeing such insane figures of voting results in municipal districts, cities, regions, there is no need to request video materials from polling stations from the Central Election Commission. And after 5 years of work, to prove the indisputable truth to Putin's idiots. There is no need to waste precious times to identify degenerate forgers. Having studied the official tables with the election results, it is necessary to immediately bring to criminal responsibility the heads of such municipal districts, cities, regions. The election results at this polling station are not legitimate. This is not an election. Devlezerkina rural settlement, one polling station. 16 falsifiers have been found repeatedly voting at these polling stations. Social workers also contribute. Sometimes BPs doesn't fall into the hands of an elderly person. Members of the PEC, in the last hour of voting, turn off the surveillance cameras and themselves take an active part in throwing in illegal BPs into the ballot box. The chairman of the PEC shows how it should be done. She votes 2 times. This is not an election, but a Putin-Pamphilov electoral dump, with a guaranteed 90% result for the right candidate. Everything is the same at 2 polling stations of the rural settlements of Ozersky, 43, 12 and 13, and PEC number 43, 16 of the rural settlement of Tokmala. We will consider in detail the falsifications at these polling stations a little later. 19 falsifiers were found at polling station number 4325 of the rural settlement of Chuvash Urmetyevo. They are all members of the PEC and all public observers. The PEC chairman votes at this polling station 3 times. And the bulk of illegal information is thrown in by members of the PEC in the last hour of voting. The observer from the public chamber in the last hour of voting counts 5 BPs from each PEC. The organization and conduction of any elections and referendums in Putin's Russia are handled by criminal thugs. The most powerful and brazen criminal falsifications are organized by the authorities at 7 polling stations of the district center of the rural settlement of Chelnovershinsky. As in the district centers, I have already shown Krasnoarmeyska, Pestravka, Khvorostyanka, Privolzhye, Bolshaya Chernigovka are also here at the elections. Criminals have used the whole well-known bouquet of ways to falsify the free expression of the will of citizens of our country. Everything is present here. and the stuffing of stacks of illegal ballot papers, and repeated voting at the same polling station, and multiple voting at different polling stations, and falsifications using a portable ballot box, and shifting the BPs given for one candidate to the stack of BPs of the desired degenerate. The United Russia Putinism is outgrading the constitution and electoral legislations has given its all here, once again convincingly proving that Putin's Pamphilov criminal electoral system tip-top is capable of electing any idiot with a guaranteed insane result of more than 90% to any public office, even a deputy, governor or president. By conducting such false election campaigns in this way, United Russia Putinism has proved for 20 years that lying unrestrainedly and stealing immensely is the main basic quality of the public administration system built in our country by Mr. Putin and his accomplices. "98 falsifiers were found at 7 polling stations of the rural settlement of Chelnovershini. In total, at all 28 polling stations of this municipal district, as well as all other packs of the municipal districts we considered earlier, we see a complete criminal degradation of the electoral process. It makes no sense to discuss that the real results obtained by any candidate or any political party at such polling stations. In countries with an honest and fair state system headed by decent, educated citizens, elections in such municipal districts, cities, regions are recognized as illegitimate, and all the results artificially drawn by criminal scoundrels are annulled. But this is just not in Putin's Russia. In the criminal system of public administration, on the contrary, such selective abomination is universally encouraged. Here is the gratitude that was announced by the chairman of the Central Election Commission Pamphilova. For successful work on the preparation and conduct of election campaigns in the Russian Federation, Viktoria Bogatyryova, deputy chairman of the TEC of the Chelnovershinsky Municipal District. And the chairman of the Election Commission of the Samara region, Mikheyev, by his resolution of December the 15th, 2016, awarded the chairman of the Chelnovershinsky TEC Shirokov with a diploma, and the secretary of the Shuttle Vershinsky TEC Belyaeva with a letter of thanks for the successful work on the preparation and conduction of the election campaign. Now you understand why the Putinists hate America and the countries of the European community. In these civilized countries, such businessmen would be sentenced to various terms of criminal punishment. Moreover, they would condemn everyone as an organized criminal group, and those who directly falsify elections and referendums, and those who cover up these criminals, and those madmen who reward such goals. From 47 TECs of the Samara region, choose the most criminal, the most vile, and declare gratitude to the leaders of Chelnovershinsky TEC. In order for all remaining 46 heads of the territorial election commissions of the Samara region to see how the constitution and electoral legislation should be violated in Putinism in order to receive Pamphilov's gratitude. This degradation is simply indescribable. Let's see if Pamphilova could have figured out, without studying the video materials from all the polling stations of the Chelnovershinsky municipal district, and this is one of the most criminal TECs of the Samara region, and not sign this such an abomination. It turns out to be very simple. To do this, Pamphilova had to spend only 2 minutes of her precious time, having run a cursory glance at the final voting table from all 28 polling stations of the Chelnovershinsky municipal district. And that's what we find here. Polling station 4302. The results of the vote. Motherland. There is a result. The Party of Pensioners. There is a result. United Russia. There is a result. And so on, all political parties. Parnas, Patriots of Russia, Civic Platform, Fair Russia. There are results. And the LDPR, 0. You understand? That is, it simply cannot be. Without any study of the video materials, it is clear to anyone who understands the electoral process that the LDPR, UR and the Communist Party political parties cannot have a zero in the final protocol when all small political parties unknown to the mass voter have some results. You have to be a degenerate not to understand such simple things. Here is the layout and counting of the BPs by political parties at the PEC 4302, where the members of the PEC drew 0 votes for the LDPR. At 2056, a portable box is pulled out. At 2105, a stationary urn is pulled out. At 2124, the BPs were divided into 4 piles according to the second levels of elections. At 2145 begins the layout of ballot papers by political parties as it should be, announcing the sign affixed by the voter in the column of the chosen political party. Spread out, it turned out that for LDPR, 14 BPs. LDPR. Accounting is in process. And in the final protocol, it is 0. You have to be a complete idiot not to understand how such crazy 92 and 98% in this municipal district are obtained in the elections. I had a dog for 14 years, and she had only the one bitch gyros in her brain. If they put one bowl of food and one empty bowl in front of her, then she calmly dealt with such a simple logical task. One bit gyros allowed her to determine where the empty bowl was and where the full feed was. Look at the final protocol from the next polling station of the Chelnovershinsky district. The motherland has the result. The communists of Russia have. The Greens have. The Civic Platform has. The most nondescript little known political parties have results everywhere, but the LDPR has nothing. Again, 0. An empty line, an empty bowl, Ms. Pamfilova. A person with one's bitch's gyros in his brain, without any video materials, looking at such a final protocol will understand that this is a stupid, brazen, criminal falsification. Let's not waste time on a detailed analysis of criminal activity at this polling station. Everything's the same as on the previous specs. According to the protocol, 356 voters allegedly voted for United Russia here. Here an elderly man counted a stack of BPs given for United Russia. It turned out 130 ballot papers. What is this? United Russia, 130. It's needed to be counted again, otherwise. Let me recount. Unlike an elderly man, a female member of the PEC recounts the BPs given for the United Russia political party in the visibility zone of CCTV cameras. The counting of each BP is clearly visible, and together with her we counted 130 BPs. A young man, a member of the PEC, counted the BPs given for the LDPR political party. It turned out 75 pieces. 75. Who is this? LDPR. In total, what we had in the final protocol: 130 voters voted for the United Russia at this polling station, plus 75 BPs stolen from the LDPR, plus the same amount stolen from the Communist Party, plus 30 BPs stolen from Fair Russia, and the remaining is theft of the BPs from small political parties, plus all invalid BPs were also stacked in the pile of United Russia. But the question is not who stole how much and from whom. The question is in the presence or absence of one bitch gyros in the brains of Putinists. Here is the following final protocol of PEC 4324. Everything's the same in the final protocols discussed earlier. Only now the Communist Party of Russia has 0. The Communists of Russia have a result, the LDPR has, United Russia has, the Communist Party has 0. And these are 8 such inadequate polling stations out of 28 polling stations of the Chelnovershinsky district. I am not going to waste time on a similar display of criminality at these remaining 5 polling stations, where the final protocols show 0 results for 3 parliamentary parties. A citizen who has one bitch gyros in his head and so everything is clear. Where the bowl is empty and where the feed is full. I think Pamfilova signed such a letter of thanks on purpose. Ahead were serious election campaigns to preserve power by the illiterate elite. And therefore, within 10 minutes, after studying the voting result tables from all 47 territorial election commissions of the Samara region, she chose the most disgusting tech for encouragement. So that all the remaining heads of the 46 techs of the Samara region would clearly understand where to put the constitution and what to do with the electoral legislation of the Russian Federation, so that the elections of Putin, Azarov and the adoption of amendments to the constitution would be drawn by an overwhelming majority. Of course, I may be wrong, but in any case, Pamfilova signed this gratitude consciously, determined the vector of the work of election commissions to obtain the necessary result in subsequent election campaigns without shunning any criminal meanness, or signed it out of her stupidity and incompetence. In any case, she is a criminal. These are her actions in this case that underlie the widespread perverse criminal attitude towards elections or officials, responsible for organizing the electoral process throughout the country. The worst thing is that such gratitude is not only the illiteracy and irresponsibility of Pamfilova. Understanding the passage of documents through government agencies to receive such gratitude to the Central Election Commission. The documents are formed by the Election Commission of the Samara region, coordinating them in detail with officials of the highest level of the regional level. You realize that the entire Putin system of public administration has degraded to such an extent that you begin to doubt whether these citizens have at least one bitch's gyros in their heads. And I am not the only one who has convincingly proved this in my films. Pay attention, the system takes only people who are absolutely low intellectual to the top. And these prickheads, they are everywhere with Putin. In the system, which has been working with negative selection for 22 years, if not more, no one talented can survive. No one can be nurtured and moved. Putin's regime is a regime of negative selection, a reverse selection. Putin has created a huge number of places specifically for the absorption of cattle. The cattle are in charge. We continue to investigate this really insane act, which has been shaming Russia in front of the world community of civilized countries for decades. Natalia Shestakova, chairman of the PAC number 1316 of the Kinel-Cherkassky municipal district. The lawlessness at this polling station already begins 5 minutes before the end of voting. At 19:55 the last voter votes, and without paying off the 380 remaining net BPs, the layout and counting begins. The first stationary urn is poured out. The second stationary urn is poured out. They spread out and count in the piles of ballot papers given for candidates to the State Duma. For us now, the result of 2 candidates from whom the BPs were stolen and transferred to the stack of the candidate from United Russia is important. This is candidate Puntok. Is this a Puntok or something? 103 Puntok? Yes, yes. And in the final protocol? 100 BPs are stolen. And the second is the candidate from the Communist Party Redno. When summing up the results obtained by the candidates, the PAC members miss 1 ballot. PAC members dictate the candidates' results for a verification. Let's check. Obukhov 89, Parhomenko 7, Semerozubov 3, Rednov 186. 186 remove. And in the final protocol, 42. In total, 140 BPs were stolen from the candidate from the Communist Party. As a result, a convincing victory of the candidate from the UR. The next line in this demonitional gratitude to Pamfilova, Tatiana Zhirova, chairman of the PEC 420 of the Bolsy-Grushishki municipal district. Everything is the same as on the previous PECs. Without any repayment of 254 clean unused BPs, 3 portable urns are opened simultaneously at 20 o'clock. Then, on the same table, the chairman of the PEC who received Pamfilova's gratitude puts the remaining unused BPs. And right there, in the same place, BPs are poured out from stationary urns. The created mess allows you to shift and mix the right amount of unused BPs with the total mass of ballots. Thus, without any problems to raise the voter turnout to the specified percent, and of course significantly increase the result for the right candidate. And now, let's see what happens at 8 o'clock in the morning, when the polling station opens for voting. Here is a woman, a public observer, coming out of the room of the chairman of the PEC. Approaches a female member of the PEC with a white jacket to receive BPs. She signs for the first time for receiving the BPs in the voter's journal. Votes. Puts the BPs into the urn. Moreover, the chairman of the PEC Zhirova is standing next to her. Then, the public observer again enters the chairman's room to take another passport. After 2 seconds, she comes out with a new passport, approaches the chairman of the PEC Zhirova and explains that he will vote again. The second time, he approaches the same member of the PEC, signs for the second time in the log, and the chairman of the PEC Zhirova stands opposite watching this criminal obscurantism. In total, in this case, we get 3 criminals. The first criminal is a public observer. By signing 2 times, she thereby forges the signature of the voter who didn't take part in any voting for the second time. Article 142.1 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation, up to 4 years of imprisonment. The second criminal is a female member of the PEC in a white jacket, who for the second time draws up the next issuance of illegal BPs, falsifying the electoral document, the list of voters. Article the same, up to 4 years to imprisonment. And the third, the chairman of PEC Zhirova, which covers all this criminal lawlessness. And instead of prosecuting Zhirova, on the contrary, Pamfilova declares her gratitude as the best of the best in all of Putin's Russia. The next line in this criminal idiotic Pamfilova document. Vera Kuznetsova, chairman of the PEC number 1008 of the municipal district Isaklinsky. 10 minutes before the opening of the polling station, all members of the PECs are at their places. A woman, a member of the PEC in a blue jacket, votes at this polling station 2 times. The first time she counts 8 BPs, second time 12 BPs. A woman, a member of the PEC, in a grey-blue jacket also votes 2 times. For the first time, 3 sets of BPs are counted to her. For the second time, 2 sets of BPs. A woman, a member of the PEC in a blue jacket, votes at this polling station 4 times, receiving the second and third time 8 BPs, the fourth time 12 BPs. The chairman of the PEC Kuznetsova, who received Pamfilova's gratitude for her successful work, so that all the chairmen of the PECs of Russia could see how to work successfully in Putin's electoral garbage, votes at this polling station 2 times. The first time she counts 8 BPs, the second time also 8 BPs. As in other polling stations, this weekend we are witnessing one of the most heinous perversions which massively appeared in the electoral system of Russia under citizen Putin. We showed it in the very first episode of our film. As at polling stations, before their opening, hundreds of clean BPs are ticked in advance by members of the PEC for the right candidate. And then the members of the PEC at their discretion, give out such BPs to almost all elderly people with already marked marks for Putin and United Russia, and the remaining ones not issued with such marks are thrown into the ballot boxes themselves. And such BPs with already ticked boxes for the right candidates are on the tables of the members of the PAC together with clean BPs. As a standard, there are usually half of such ready-made BPs, but in practice we have met more. Look, a woman, a member of the PAC, votes 2 times at this polling station. For the first time, 12 BPs are counted to her, and without ticking off the BP, without entering the booth for secret voting, she throws these 12 BPs into the ballot box. Such clean, empty BPs are invalidated. But in all 4 final protocols of this PAC, in the column invalid, BPs are 0. In the previous series, I already showed that this happens in all municipal districts of the Samara region. As the chairman of the PAC, usually in the last hour of voting, without ticking, hundreds of BPs are thrown into the ballot boxes. For the second time, a female member of the PAC in a black jacket is also counted 3 BPs and from each PAC. Will you explain me, citizens Putin and Pamfilova, how this can be? A member of the PAC votes at this polling station 2 times. The second time receives 8 BPs and immediately throws into the urn without ticking. It turns out that on the table of the election commission there are BPs with ticks already done for the right candidate. If in all 4 final protocols of this election commission in the column invalid BPs is 0. We knew that a lot of provocations aimed at discrediting the vote were being prepared, but we coped with it with dignity. By issuing such vile orders to declare mass gratitude to the criminal element, Pamfilova shows the members of the PACs of the whole of our country how they should exult over the constitution and electoral legislation in a sophisticated way. If you, Putin's abomination sitting in election commissions, will not check the boxes in half of the clean BPs issued to you in advance for the right candidate or for amendments to the constitution, if you do not throw in hundreds of illegal ballot papers repeatedly approaching the ballot box, you will never get any gratitude. We need only the most inveterate scandals in election commissions. Well, how can I disagree with Arestovich here? But this is overkill. A lot of overkill, but Putin allows this overkill. Specially organizes. He breaks the machine of Russian statehood. Translating it not only the Och culture, but also to the Gopnik system of relations. It's not even a gateway, it's a dump. Indeed, this is not even a St. Petersburg gateway. This is a real Putin-Pamfilov electoral dump. Everyone should understand how serious this degradation of the state system is. If out of the 27 regions specified in the award order, we make a slice for analysis. In this case, all those awarded in the Samara region fall into this slice, and we get 40% of the widely lousy criminal element of this slice. So what should we get among the awardness in other regions? If in the previous series I told you that the Samara region is in the middle of the list of falsification lawlessness. And now, let's figure out whether Pamfilova, without studying the video materials from the polling stations, could figure out who to sign the gratitude and who to exclude from this list. Everything is very simple. On the example of PAC number 1008, looking at the voter turnout table at this polling station, where the number of votes who voted in the first 2 hours is equal to the number of voters voted in the last 2 hours, to understand that this is a complete criminal degradation. Here's how it looks graphically. This is a real graph and this is a falsification. In fact, in the last 2 hours of voting, not a single voter voted at this polling station. And the members of the PAC drew 20%, exactly as many as the voters voted in the morning. The composition of the Putin gang, who voted at this polling station in the last 30 minutes of voting, is all the members of the PAC voting for the second time, and all public observers who receive several sets of illegal ballot papers in their hands. And here you have this crazy 20% turnout for the closing of the polling station. But to figure it out, you need to have at least one bitch's gyros in your head. Believe me, everything that I have shown in 17 episodes of this film, officials sitting at all levels, the electoral system, the investigative committee, the prosecutor's office, the courts, the presidential administration and the top leadership of our country, they do not understand anything about it. If they understood what the constitution and the electoral legislation are, then only in the Samara region there would be at least 3,000 criminal scoundrels, including the heads of municipal districts, city districts, and the governor. For the 20 years that he ruled the state since 2000, he actually picked up only those people in this department who have nothing human in them. People are absolutely primitive. This is the result of the negative selection of personnel, which is practiced under Putin. Here is this more illiterate power, stupid power. Yes, moronic. It wasn't in the country before. I absolutely do not want to exalt myself, but if I had held the post of chairman of the Central Election Commission instead of Ms. Pamfilova for 10 years, then the effectiveness of my work would be higher than the labor activity of all the Central Election Commission members taken together. I understand perfectly well that in 10 years in the electoral system of Russia, no one will be able to break this Putin criminal's mechanism. But in 10 years, the citizens of our country and the world community would have seen real shifts towards openness, honesty, justice, protection of the constitution and electoral legislation. For 10 years, it is impossible to establish the effective work of such a powerful apparatus of the Central Commission to crush the criminal Putin element that has struck the entire electoral system of the country. This is a crime for which the perpetrators must be punished in the strictest form. The citizens of our country should understand that the most important enemy of the Russian people and Russian statehood is not America, not Ukraine and NATO. This is a system of public administration built by Putin that allows parasites who do not have the proper experience and education, who do not have analytical thinking, even to analyze the simplest statistical systems, to hold public posts, those who do not understand the key directions of the development of modern society, who do not know and incorrectly interpret historical events, even of the next generations, who do not study the wisdom of any world religion, whose knowledge gives the human intellect elements of foresight in the correct choice of strategic decisions. For 30 years of reforms, only brainless criminal mafia lunatics can bring the country with the richest natural resources, with a very small population, to what we now have in politics, economy, demography, social security, culture and science. Mafia. To be continued.